The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB-TV.
Get yourselves together. Right. Stand up and live your life. Right. Get yourselves together. Right. Hands up high.
Hey! Welcome to the Rise Above show. I am Joe Perroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini. And we have our special guest on today, Seth Brown.
All right, little ovation.
Right.
All right.
They say around.
Seth?
Sean.
First shot.
So, did you get the
She
name
got
wrong?
Seth.
Cut.
No, we gotta leave that in.
Again.
Seth?
You know who Seth is? Never mind. You don't want to know. Seth, the whole time I was doing the thing with you, I was in it going on with this Seth guy from Allstate. My emails are going back to back.
Oh
Okay,
my
sorry.
God. First shot?
Sorry. And I sat here just now and I said, don't call him that. I even said,
Is it my name?
It's right here. It's Seth.
Is she
And I
she
wrote
it down?
Oh my God.
It says Seth on the paper.
That's right, not on mine.
April Emerson is written really big on the paper, but Seth.
No, yours is the same.
Seth, look at this. Seth. Oh.
Seth was the Allstate guy.
Wow, Seth.
I'm really embarrassed because I said to myself,
You know
don't
what?
call him
Suck it
Seth.
out. Suck it out.
Okay.
Suck it out.
Sean.
Let's try that again. Hi, Joe.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir? All right.
Okay.
Okay, so tell everybody about your book.
Are we done? I don't know what's going on.
Are we on?
We saw it? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Did we get Sean in there this time?
No, you're Sean.
I'm
Don't be
Sean.
messing with me now because I already messed up. All right. Sean Brown,
That is me.
author of Just a Thought.
Just a thought. That is me. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's actually really cool being here. I think. The jury's still out right now.
So my question to you would be, what was your inspiration to write this book? I know the answer because I read your bio, but our listeners don't.
Our listeners don't. So I tell people all the time that I didn't want to write a book. I didn't intend to write a book. I don't consider myself a writer, right? I started writing when I was in Afghanistan back in 2010. I was stationed at Bagram Airfield as an LNO, for those military folks watching, as an LNO, which is a liaison officer for a forward deployed unit. And what I realized was I was talking to a lot of people, like Joe, I talked like you, and I was saying the same things to people all over the world. So I was like, somebody else may want to hear this. You know, I'm tired of saying the same. So I started writing what I call Sean's Thoughts. You know, and it was just Sean's thoughts and whatever it were. So, you know, for example, I may say, you know, Sean's thought, someday somebody will call you Seth. And that's okay. You can take that in and let it go. Yes,
Sean,
I'm a crap talker. No, no. Yes,
now.
all days. So I would write that. Ironically, I did this for about a year, and this was social media. I did this for about a year, and no one responded to it. You know, no likes, no. You know, we're big on that nowadays, right? Likes and looks. No one responded. So I was like, I'm done. You know, at that point in time, the wife and I were kind of battling it out. We've been married, you know, and I was like, I'm just done. I'm done with social media. I'm done. I got 10 messages, the private messages from people I did not know that were reading my messages, and they were like, I log on just to see what you wrote, right? And so that made me realize that what I'm saying has value, because, you know, that's what we do, right? I mean, we do the show. You want to know that it has value, right? And so fast forward 3-4 years, I started getting dialogue and conversation, talking about tough subjects, talking about, you know, we're talking about women's rights and whatever it was. I would talk about anything. And my good friend, who's not on TV with us, April, she became my student, Zumba student. I'm a Zumba instructor. 2 years ago, and I asked her to help me to finally put this together. So, and she did. And a lot of coffee and cookies. So I got this guy right here. And we put it together, and then we put it out Mother's Day 2017. So I didn't write a book. I just wrote a bunch of messages. And they're timeless. So what I wrote in 2010 is still, you know, I talk about race relations. I talk about being a parent, being a friend, cohabitating this earth, and we're still doing the same things today. So that's what made me put in the book. So, that's kind of the catch. Like, did I write a book? Yes. Did I start writing a book? No. It was just thoughts.
So what I like about the idea of your book is that it is your thoughts. So that it's not a person trying to be pretentious and sell it to a specific market.
Yes.
So it's actually you. So you're being very vulnerable here.
I talked about this. I don't believe being truthful is vulnerable. No one has to believe what you're talking about, what you're saying, what you believe in, right? I believe this blue shirt looks great on me. The entire world can think this blue shirt looks like crap on me. But if I believe it, I'm okay with that. I think it's when you put yourself out there without the emotion behind it, as we were talking to off screen, when the emotion is what drives us to be over dramatic. Everything in my book, while I'm saying it as the way I just picture it. Not necessarily, I'm not bringing all my history in. If I had an argument with somebody, got cut off by somebody, if I got cut off by, let's say, a lady, and I'm talking about woman or something about women, I'm mad right now at women, right? Or my wife, burnt my bacon like she did a couple weeks ago, which is rude, and so I take that energy and put it into that thought. Well, that's not my true thought. It's an emotion-driven statement. Everything I wrote is an emotion-driven. I say it now. If we talk about something that's similar, you'll find the same context in every answer that I give about the same subject, whether it was a year ago, 20 years ago, right? Unless somebody gives me something different. So so vulnerability comes when you risk being hurt.
Right.
I can't be hurt by my truth. Not to me. If nobody wants to like me after I say it, I can live with that because in the morning I wake up knowing that I lived my truth, and that's where I get rid of the vulnerability. Like, you can't damage me. I mean, unless you shoot me.
Yeah, I love where you're coming from, because before this interview I was thinking, right, when you write down this type of stuff, you need to be really transparent, and I'll use the word again, you don't like it, but vulnerable, right? So when you're powerful enough, you're not vulnerable. So you're coming from a really a good self-esteem, a lot of self-confidence.
Yes.
So then my next question would be, where did you get that? Because it seems like most people, especially in this day and age, 2018, everybody is so offended over every little thing. And
Yes.
what you're talking about is being a real well-adjusted human being. I don't
Yes.
see very many of those anymore.
I don't think I'm as unique as we talk about, as we think. I always try to say, if you're going to communicate with anyone, the first thing you have to do is come with facts. If I speak at the high school, a couple classes at the high school in South Kitsap, in Port Orchard, Washington, and I told the kids, I tell anybody else, when you're talking, you come with facts. Now, your facts may be wrong. In this room, the wall behind me is green. But if I'm slightly colorblind, I may see it as blue. So I'm like, hey, this room is blue. It's a great room I was in. And Heidi may say, hey, Sean, it's actually a dark green. Here's, the paint can. Now, I may still see it as blue, but her facts, I cannot argue with, right? I cannot argue. She shows me this. She shows me why this is a fact. I go, okay. Then now something's wrong. Do I believe her or my lying eyes? In this particular case, I believe my lying eyes, right? That's what we're coming. You come with facts. Again, I think we spend so much time needing to be right, wanting to be right, having to be right. And we're so afraid, now to use your word, we're afraid to be vulnerable because we're, how can we stand on our own 2 feet? If I don't support, bodybuilding, I know you're big into bodybuilding, I'm like, I don't support that, right? Immediately when I say that, you get defensive. We know if I say anything about women's rights, right? I might get punched over here. But the truth is, the people that naysay or have something contrary to what you're saying may be telling you something that's true. If I just listen, take it in, see where they're coming from, then I can respond. Because I can respond to facts. We don't have to be angry at each other. We don't have to fight each other. And I think that's where I benefit. I try not to speak in anger. If I'm angry, I kind of walk away. I have to walk away because speaking in anger brings hate. It brings us saying things that we don't necessarily mean. Because, when you're angry, you're going to say stuff that you don't mean. Videos with racism and sexism and, all the phobias. And people use all these slurs. And they go, that person's angry. And they want to hurt each other, right? They want to hurt each other. If I look at you and I'm like, when you get into an argument, I'm going to say anything I can that I know is going to hurt you, right? So I may use your race. I may use your, you're shorter than me, right? I may use your size, Why? Because I'm trying to inflict pain, emotional pain. And we take that as fact, and that's not fact. That's emotion. And you take out that emotion, now we can actually communicate. And sometimes you have to walk away. Like you said, I got to leave. You have to walk away. So that's kind of where I sit kind of in there on that.
Do you think this is going to be a sexist question? Joe knows what I'm going to ask you. Do you think emotional regulation is more of a guy's thing, that you guys are more apt to go that way, thinking more factual and reasoning? Because Joe and I have these discussions because I can tend to be reactive emotionally. And it's been said that, well, that's a female thing.
So me and my good friend, again, April, and a couple of my friends, I talk to a lot of female. I have a lot of female clients as a Zoom instructor. I have a lot of female students, and I speak to predominantly female people. Genetically, and this is my opinion, there's no science behind it, but it's my observation over life. Women are more apt to be emotional, not reactive. Women have trained themselves to be reactive. You're caring and nurturing by nature. Right? If a child cries anywhere, a woman, not a mother, she doesn't have to be a mother or anything, is naturally going to look and search for that child. They're going to search for the parent, they're going to try to help. That's the nurturing side of women. Men are fixers, and by nature, we get so caught up in titles and things, but if a man sees a problem, somebody's in danger, somebody's hurt, something, that needs to be taken, we just naturally are going to try to protect that. I just recently left McDonald's with my friend, and there was a guy in there, obviously has been a lot of time on drugs, right? And he's walking around, he's stumbling around, and he's at the counter getting change, and he's, right? So I told her, get on the side of me, right? Because I'm aware of situations. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. I grew up around sometimes where people are dangerous. As a man, I'm always going to put the woman that's with me in a safer position. That is not to diminish her strength or her power. My wife is a strong woman, powerful woman, one of the strongest people I know. But if she's walking with me, she's on the inside of the road. I'm always on the outside. If there's something going on, I am in front of her. That is always going to be the case. Her first, and then my kids. They come in. That is why I stand in front of. Always. So that's, as a guy, as just a male, by my nature, I will do that. Even you. Somebody comes in here, you guys are together. We would probably both step in. Not that you're not a strong woman. That is what we would do. And you, on the other hand, are going to be more caring automatically. Doesn't mean we can't both do it. But I think we fight that, and then we turn it into a negative. All women, women are emotional. Who says that more than anybody? Women. Women are emotional, yes, because you're caring and nurturing. But that doesn't mean neurotic and explosive and, fly off the handle and uncontrolled. That's an excuse. Just like man can't cry. We can. I don't very often, but put on Armageddon, the movie, and I'm gonna be like, there's some stuff in this the thing. I love the end of that movie, right? Yeah. It's an emotional part for me, and I like it. But I'm not gonna cry because I broke up with someone. That's just not me, But put a movie on, and so sad, right?
Yeah, it's interesting some of the things that you say, because we have those conversations often. And as you're a masculine guy, I'm a masculine guy. And in certain ways, when I see the media, and I'm pretty liberal too, by the way, just to put that out there, But still, when I see the media, it's so against men and how we act. Because again, if somebody were to come in here right now, you and I have no problem giving up our lives.
Nope.
No problem whatsoever. And yet we're considered to be uncaring and unnurturing. And yet the definition of nurturing would be to help other people, right? So there's a difference between a child saying, I would really like some candy, and let's just, for example, say a woman going, oh, I'll solve that problem. I know you're experiencing a little bit of pain. I know you want candy, so I will give you candy. In some circles, that's considered to be nurturing. But as men, we would say, absolutely not. You've got dinner in 2 hours. We've got some good protein, chicken, fish, tuna, turkey, egg white, whatever, and some vegetables. And that's the way we make rules, and we have regulations. And if you break the rules, well, there's punishments. And these are the things where I think our society has forgotten men. Look at it. If you look at some of the numbers, about 54% of children being born today are being born with no father. And it's not because fathers are running. It's because so many women today have enough money to be able to raise a child on their own, so they can say, I don't need a man. I'm like, yes, but your child does. So when you look at some of these things, especially, what I need to say this too, you've been in the military for how many years?
I spent 22 years in the military.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Does it ever hit you when people, let's say, because you're a man and you're with a group of people that are supposedly not nurturing and caring, that about 1.2 million men have died in the United States to be able to keep this place free? Does it ever bother you?
No. You know, I think, so that was a lot of stuff in that one thing.
Let's roll. Right. You got plenty of time.
There's a lot of stuff in that. First, I think there's a misconception of being a male we have to protect. We by nature, I know I just said by nature we protect,
right.
But by nature as people we protect. We protect our springs. Women protect differently. They protect secondly. They will nurture. They will hug first. But put a child in danger, or even a spouse in danger, and the one becomes the instant protector, right? Same thing. If my son, I'm not a big, cuddly person, right? But if my son, my youngest boy just graduated high school, if he's truly hurt, I'm sitting there and I will hold him if he needs to. I mean, he's as big as I am, but I will hold him if he needs to. I will sit there and talk to him. He just recently went off to try out for the drill team, the cheer team at GCU, Grand Canyon University, where he got accepted. He didn't make it, right? He made it through 4 or 5 rounds, but he didn't make it. And so I told him, we sat and talked. His mom was a little more lovey-dovey than I was, but I knew that he needed to understand. He needed to hear that, you know what? You did your best. You did. So I gave the rules, like we said.
Right.
I gave the rules, but I also gave him that here's, what your mom just said is right. What here, as a man, you got to step up. You also have to make it as a person. His 2 friends, the 2 females that went, they didn't make it either. I was trying one. And so we're telling them, you know what? Did you guys do your best, right? Learn from your mistakes. So we do. We put the rules in place. But I actually have a problem with that. I actually always had a problem with that. I'm gonna wait till your father get home type response, right?
Interesting.
Because
yeah.
I think one of the good things that we've done recently is both parents have to be disciplined. Both parents have
Absolutely.
to be nurturing, right? The father can't just, like my first marriage, I was the bad guy. Or I was like, I'm not gonna be the bad guy. Like I made a rule that I do not disagree with my wife in front of my son. And I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. So if I have a problem, and like if she says she can do something, I have a problem, me and her are gonna talk about it. And if she said he can do it, and I'm like, that he shouldn't be doing that. Well, maybe it's going out with friends tonight. And I'm like, I don't agree with that. We'll talk. If I can't do that, then what she has said stands, right? And then we'll talk about it, and I don't use that as a weapon against her. Same thing for me. If I said no first, then she doesn't overrule me, right? Now we can talk about it, But that's what we're supposed to do. And we've lost, back in the 50s and 60s and on, we had father knows best, mother does the household and the kitchening and all that. No, you don't need. A woman can't teach a young boy to be a man. A man can't teach a young girl to be a woman. But what we've learned, what it used to say back in the olden days and the olden times, was that it takes a village to raise a child. See, the community raised a child. So a single mom, she had other men in around that were nurturing, especially if you were back in, our old days, the churchgoers and church community, they were supposed to be those men. A single father, he'd have those women around to say, hey, you know what, let me show you how to do this to your daughter's hair. And when she gets that 12, 13 years old, when she starts her cycle, as a guy, I can figure it out, but I don't. If you ever been down the aisleway and that aisle in one of the stores, there's 800 products, right? So I need a woman. So if I was by myself as a single father, I'd call Heidi. Hey Heidi, I need a little help here because we have to be.
Yeah. So we need to go on a little break, but first, and just so I have some continuity here. I just want to mention one thing that you said that I think hits me really hard too as a man. And as a therapist and as a man, I've talked to a lot of men about this. And you're so right. Like a lot of times a woman might say, wait until your father gets home. And what happens there is that a man is violent by proxy, right? Like we are given another job and we want to fix it. So we end up being these, to maybe a young child, these beasts, these ogres, but we are carrying out orders from our wife or our girlfriend. And I know plenty of men that would do it. And then they go in a room and then they cry in the shower. And maybe that's like a metaphor, but because it's water, that you can't see the tears in a guy's eyes going, I don't want to be violent by proxy. I do a lot of other good things here. And I shouldn't be a hatchet man for my kids. Right? There's a lot more to it. Men, you and I, are not really allowed to talk about these things in public because they've got names for that. Like we're not allowed to feel that. So I'm glad you kind of mentioned that.
Yeah, you said we had to go on break.
Yeah, we'll Do you want to say something real quick?
Yeah, real quick. I think we changed the. I don't like the term "we're not allowed," because it goes back to you talking about being confident. I don't mind if a person's, if a guy's effeminate. That's just, if that's him, that's him.
Right.
You stand to be who you are. If I didn't agree with spank, I spanked both my sons. My oldest boy lived with me for the first 5 years of his life, and then he lived in Europe with his mother. My second son is my stepson. He's lived with me since he was 5 years old, and now he's 18. I spanked the younger boy twice, the older boy once. And that was my choice, me and my wife's choice. He had been doing something we deemed worthy of spanking, right? I was not going to be the weapon. So my wife disciplined, I disciplined. We discipline differently, right? As males, we tend to be a little more even in our discipline, more consistent. As ladies, as women, they tend to be a little more nurturing, a little more caring until we get to the mom's threshold, which is when they, right. And every husband knows it, every kid knows it, right? And mom has reached her point, and then she yells or she swings, she get out of here, she's, to that frustrated. And that's one of the problems is that threshold that, moms want to be caring. We want to be the good guys. We want to be the good guys. But we have to bring them up to our kind of more consistent, and we have to be willing, as males, be willing to come down and be that caring role and say, you know what, I know you messed up, but it doesn't always require a spanking, a stern lashing. Sometimes it requires some, we'll let it slide, right. Because that's what we need. And yes, we should be able to talk about it. Yes, we should be able to stand here and do what we want, because it's about how I parent. How about you to parent your children? That's yours. And what you do together, not this, two companies coming together so we can kind of figure it out. No, you'll have to be on the same page.
Right.
So that's
thanks for clarifying that.
Yep.
Take us a break.
We'll be back in 5 minutes.
I'm the world's worst cleaning lady. I'm here in your home having a pretty spectacular Tuesday. But I don't notice the loose rug at the top of your stairs. And that's about to become an issue for me. And if you've got the wrong home insurance coverage, my medical bills could get expensive. So get Allstate.
Welcome back to the Rise Above Show. I am Joe Perroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
Sorry, guess. Look at this. S.L.
L.
Brown.
Sean
See that?
L.
S.L.
Brown.
I'm looking at this picture here. It's very, you look very serious.
I was. Actually, I was not.
He was contemplating.
I was not serious.
You're in heavy contemplation.
No.
Which just what were you thinking right here? Just a thought.
You want to know the truth, or I can spin a web
Well,
of.
don't lie to me.
All right. So I taught I used to teach at a gym that overlooks the water, and it's a beautiful location. I was teaching. I'm getting ready to teach a boot camp class. I do my own type of boot camp class, and I happened to be sitting on the floor. The sun was over my shoulder, and I reached out. I took a selfie because I thought I was looking
That's
cool.
what that is?
That is it. So I was sitting there just taking a selfie. So the actual thing is a lot longer. I'm in red shorts and a black shirt, and it's colored. But when me and April put the book together, I said, "Don't most people who write biographies and things like that have their own face on it?" So I'm like, I know exactly the picture. Made it black and white, and people are like, "What are you doing?" So I normally say I'm thoughting, which isn't a word, which makes my English teacher cringe, but I like it. So yes, I was actually not thinking of anything. I thought I looked cool.
You can create your own words,
I can.
Good authors do that.
We do. You know what? As Shakespeare did it all, like 600 words or something he made up. I don't know if that's a true number, but it sounds good. And if you say anything, say it with conviction.
So in your book, it's supposed to inspire people, I'm sure, right? Or not supposed to, but it might.
It might.
It inspire people.
Yep.
So let me throw some stuff out for
Throw
you.
it.
Young men today.
Mm-hmm.
Just to throw around some numbers, right? Porn, I don't know the percentage, but a lot of them are. And I'm a therapist, so I can tell you that most of them, they sit doing nothing. They want to play video games all day.
Mm-hmm.
They smoke marijuana to like, are you kidding me? I don't know where their parents are, but that's their big thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're failing in school more and more through junior high, high school. They're less likely to go to college. There's very few compared to women in law school or in medical school. 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD and put on psychotropic meds.
Mm-hmm.
Males, young males, are failing in every which way possible. They are. What do you think is the root cause about this, and what do you think we can do about it?
So now we're going to be contrary. We'll be contrary a little bit. So, one, I read a email way back when the internet kind of first started. I was in Lakenheath, England, back in about 94. An email came over with one of the jokes. It used to come over on emails instead of the memes. And it said 33% of all statistics are made up. And I've always loved that. I don't remember much from my drunken days of England, but I remember that statistic. I tend to take stats with a grain of salt because I used to believe that our kids were lost. And ironically, I'm going to actually blame a group of kids in a class called Reading Seminar at South Kitsap High. My friend, April, happens to be the teacher. She used my book in her class. And this class is for kids who are reluctant readers. They're not eager, and they're not going the right way towards graduation.
Right.
And so prior to me talking to these kids, I'd go, man, these kids, and I'll just say, man, kids altogether are so long, they're screwy, they're uncaring, they're disrespectful, just all the things we normally say. And we equate, the news tells us, all the statistics tell us, we go, oh, and we can rattle off. As a therapist, I know, you got, peer-reviewed reports, and they say, 10 out of 11 kids, no, 10, whatever. 10 out of 11 kids have this.
Right.
And I go, well, the problem is you didn't talk to every kid. We talked to 30% of a select population. We go, that's what it is. I saw a stat once that said that in one city that 3 out of 4 pregnant women in that city, white women in that city, had absent black fathers in their family. And the friend that shared it said, these black men are just failing. And I went, so % of the men in that city weren't parents. That's bull. That's absolutely bull. But if I take this small population, if I poll us 3, I would go, 2/3 of the people in this world are men. Well, right here is true, right? That's not true, right? So I kind of take that part with a grain of salt. But going back to the kids, I walked into this room, and these kids, and this will answer your question as well. These kids hadn't been taught about one of my favorite things to tell people is ownership. These kids hadn't been taught ownership. We, as parents, as mentors, as leaders, we stop talking, we stop educating, we stop training. We get on pulpits, we say, I know you're passionate about being us men being men, and understand that. You're passionate about women's rights and women, being powerful and understanding their strength. But the problem is, as we're all standing up here going, this is what we believe in, this is what we believe in, we see a lot of, we need to put God back in school, right? God's great. If you love God, love God. But we're so busy standing on these pulpits that we're not teaching, and this is where I agree with where you're coming from, we're not teaching basic things. Ownership is the very first one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When I teach my son, and so I'm going to go back, I talked to these kids, and I got to hear them start, thanks to April and some of the letters they sent me, they were going through things that they just didn't understand. But nobody's actually asked, okay, what don't you understand? Let's talk. I just had a conversation at my book signing with a young girl, beautiful, little 15-year-old girl, and her mom and her little brother. And I'm telling her, you're beautiful. Guys are gonna hit on you. Girls are gonna hit on you. I even said I think dogs will hit on you. But she's a beautiful young woman. And I go, worry about your grades. I'll use this as when I was growing up, as a young black male. When I was growing up, I just actually talked to that young girl about this. When anybody asked me, I saw one of my uncles, saw anybody, family friend come in, they would ask me the same questions. What sport am I playing? How good am I at the sport I'm playing? And do I have any girlfriends? First 3 questions, almost every time. First 3. As a black man, we like to play sports. That's what we do. Basketball, football, baseball, When I saw my nephews, when I see them kids, I say, how are you doing at school? What's your grades like? Oh, I'm doing okay. The same thing I told these kids. How are you doing in school? They started answering the question. Now at the end of the school year, not all of them passed, but every one of them started asking the questions. How am I doing? One of those kids knew they failed, and they talked to April. Like I talk about April all the time. They talked to her and they said, I know I didn't pass your class, but I know I didn't do enough. That's ownership. She changed that child's ownership. You ask how we fix that? I got to give kids ownership. And how do I give kids ownership? I got to own me. I can't storm off in a conversation because it's not going my way. I got to be able to communicate. They don't see how we do that. All we see is how we lob anger at each other. That's ownership. So, and that goes for men and women, young boys and girls, because they're part and parcel. They go together. It's not one.
Well, when you take ownership of something and somebody makes you accountable,
yes,
it holds you, like, just as an example to me. How is your new course that you're taking online going? Not well. You know why? I'll tell you why, because I'm not studying enough. I'm too busy doing other things, right? So when somebody asks me that question and I say, well, it's not going well, why not? You're smart. Well, because I'm not studying enough. When you say it out loud and you acknowledge it, you go, okay, now I need to figure out how can I study. So that when somebody asks me that question the next time online study is going, I can say, great.
Yes.
And when we do that to our kids, it's the same thing. They don't think about how they're doing in a lot of aspects of their lives. They're not asked those questions because of what you just said. We're too busy going,
We only go superficially as
Right.
well.
Right.
We don't dig. You know, we don't, and I don't mean snoop, but, you know, as a personal trainer, I know if your client comes in and they're not doing what they have been doing, you know that they need to get the rest, they didn't eat, they know, what happened? Why didn't you eat? Why didn't you eat? And I tell people, talk like a 5-year-old. Ask questions like a 5-year-old. Why? Why? We get 3 layers deep and we stop. You know, especially with our kids. Our kids are down 6, 7, 8 layers deep with what's going on with them. But we get to the first thing and go, oh, they must have boyfriend trouble, girlfriend trouble. Oh, they must, they feel awkward with their sex. No, it's much more than that. It's something deeper than that. And it's normally this really small thing, but we have to ask why.
But the adults need to slow down and they need to start talking to the kids.
We need to listen.
And listening.
Yes.
Of the people that you know, how many people still eat dinner together every night?
The people I know,
Yeah.
well, I actually know quite a few because half
do.
my class is Filipino, and that's very family community. We no longer eat dinner together at the table in my house. Normally, we're all ripping and running and going away, but we like to sit and watch a family show together, or we go somewhere, we go to dinner, right? I think we like to say, and that's a good place, but even when we sit down as families to dinner, we don't talk. Like when we sit at a table, put your phones down. When we go eat out somewhere, put your phones down, right? But you can do stuff like, as me and my son will go out, my wife and my son will go out, me and my wife will go out, and all 3 of us will go out, right? So we say, we're gonna go do this together. That's that bonding and that's that conversation time. That's when we get to talk. That's when we get to, not be all over the place. So,
Right.
That has changed because our world has changed. Back in the day, if you didn't have a car, you weren't going nowhere anyway. Now you don't have it. Everybody has a car, everybody has a phone, everybody has access to everyone else. So that dynamic has changed and we evolve with it. But how do we evolve with it? Hey, you know what? For this time, we're talking, put your phone down and let's talk. I'll say this, and I think you'll appreciate this. I said one of our problems is you and I could be talking, and we could be together, we're having lunch, and I'm messaging Joe, hey, what's going on there, right? So my attention is divided. Now I'm with Joe, and I'm over here, and I'm messaging you because, hey, what's going on? Instead of being here.
Yeah, 100%. As I see it, yes, technology has gone up an incredible amount, and it does every day.
Yes.
But what I'm also seeing is a level of disrespect is going up with it too, where you cannot have a one-to-one conversation, or you end up being distant with your own children, and then you're trying to appease them and be their friend instead of being their mentor and their leader, being a parent.
Yeah.
What a concept, being your child's parent.
Well,
right?
you have to choose. You have to choose one or two. There has to be one or two. I tell people this all the time, and it's one of my personal things. You're either going to be a parent or you're going to be a friend. And first of all, like I told my son, he's smart, he's witty, he's sarcastic, we joke around. No matter what he is, no matter how old he is, whatever, I am always his father. He will always treat me that way. He will always respect his mother as a mother. As an adult, yeah, he can cuss around us. He can do he has a little more leeway. But if I say, Trey better understand. I am grown. I've been to war. I'm an author. I take care of myself. Wanda or Robert Brown says, Sean, or Sean Lamont, as my middle name is. Okay, now I can leave and go home, but I will respect them. They are not my friends. They're never going to be my friends, right? We're spent, and sorry for the ladies spend too much. Ladies more so, want to be friends with their kids.
Right.
And you can't do that.
I tell you, I was never my daughter's friend. I used to say to her, listen, I'm your mother, you only have one.
Yes.
You're going to have a lot of friends. So I'm your mom, no matter, and you're not going to like it. And she moved out, that's another day, another story. But she's 23 now, and she says, man, Mom, I don't know how you did it, and my daughter has a mouth like a trooper on her, and I have not heard her cuss. My friends that she hangs out with, and people that know, they go, "You ever hear your daughter swear?"
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Respect.
But there was a day when
We
she
teach
didn't
that.
have that respect for me, and she would, But as time, now that she's older and gone through some stuff, but I was never my daughter's friend ever.
We
Couldn't.
teach respect. That's so asking that
Exactly.
question. If I don't have respect in my household, talking about ownership, I didn't do it.
Right.
If I don't have, if my children don't listen to me, it's because I didn't teach them. You know what I'm saying? Like you were saying, we placate, but I'll correct that again. We don't have to. We choose to because
Right.
it's lazy. We're lazy. We're lazy communicators. We're lazy as parents. We're lazy as people. But that's not a need. It's a choice, and we can choose to do. It takes work to undo this. I was a liar as a kid. I lied all the time. Man, I lied. And so my parents didn't believe me, and I was mad at them for not believing me. And I know time's getting, but a very funny story. I just saw my older sister. She's living here, has Barnes and Nobles, and she came and saw me. Right when we were kids, my mom had a steak in the refrigerator, right, and it got eaten. So we were outside playing.
It just got eaten.
It got eaten. It got eaten. So we were outside playing. We lived in a dead end. We're outside playing, and my mom calls us in. Shanita, Sean, come in the house. So we go in the house. Who ate my steak? I didn't eat it. My sister, I didn't eat it. Go sit in the living room till y'all decide. And so we're in the living room. I didn't eat a steak. My sister leans over. She says, Sean, tell mama you ate it so I can go back. We can go outside. So I got to eat it, right? 20 minutes later, comes out. She says, Sean, I know you ate the steak. My sister gets to go back outside. I didn't eat the steak. If it was candy, I would eat it. My sister always acted like she was grown. She's 5 years older than me. She ate the steak. But because I lied all the time, nobody believed me. I was a boy who cried wolf.
Right.
And to this day, that happened when I was like 7 years old. I'm 43. And I still remember that to this day. I can remember it vividly because I earned it. You know what I'm saying? I earned that. I had to undo all that work
Exactly.
to be
True.
taught. And that's what we have to do. If our children are out of control, we have to undo the work.
So we don't have a lot of time. Tell me what the most difficult thing is that you've ever had to overcome.
Most difficult thing I ever had to overcome was living up to other people's stereotypes and beliefs as my own, right? We all have that as men, as women, as Hispanic and black and white, whatever, Muslims, Christians. We live up to other people's stereotypes, and we live our lives that way. We speak that way, trying to appease and please everyone else. I tell people I have respect for Charles Manson. They go, how do you have? I was like, he was himself. I don't agree with what he did. I don't agree with what he stood for. Was. I go, so many of us, we live our lives trying to be what we're not. I'm like, yes, my color is black. Yes, I'm from South Central LA. Yes, I have seen gangs and I've been in gangs. Yes, I've done all that, right? But that does not define me or make me. What makes me is what I'm standing here telling you now. You know what I mean? So that's what being able to stand up for my own self.
Tell everybody where they can buy your book and where they can see you. I think you have workshops and you're doing stuff in bookstores.
Can I
Tell
look in
us.
the camera now? I'm looking at the
There you
camera.
go, right there.
Let me look at the camera.
Sean.
Sean, not Seth. Sean.
SL.
SL. Yes. Don't listen to her.
This is going to go viral now.
It is.
Do that.
Seth Brown. Live at 12. You can find me at Sean's, with an S, thoughts, with an S.com. Activities are there. You can reach out to me. You get my book there and on Amazon. We're expanding to Barnes and Nobles all over. And I keep that updated with my blogs and my Instagram, my Twitters. They're all on that page. Friend me, find me. I love hearing from people. It is about connecting with the community. And that's me.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here today. I know
you.
you actually flew in just for this.
I flew in just for this. I flew in last night. My good friend and warlord, April, had me up all day and night. Like I said, she made me go to Barnes and Nobles this morning.
All right.
And I came here, but I came here just for this because I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
And I would love to be able to do something that's, I'm learning from this, so I want to be you guys one day as well. So I appreciate you bringing me on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Even if she called me Seth.
So this has been the Rise Above Show. I am Joe Perroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
And
Sean Brown. Just a thought.